Rock of Ages Whole Health Living podcast episode, Seeing Independence Differently, a conversation with Tyler Shasky of ORCAM. Welcome to Rock of Ages Whole Health Living. This is a podcast where we explore how people can live louder, longer, and more independently, even as life changes. I'm Lori Vernaccio, whole health leader, long-term care professional, and someone who really believes that growing older should never mean growing quiet. I'm here today with Tyler, and if you've spent any time in the senior living or healthcare industry, you've seen how vision loss kind of reshapes someone's daily life, not just reading or menus, but their willingness to engage in the world. So too often when vision loss enters the picture, the conversation quickly turns to what a person can't do instead of the possibilities. And this is why I'm especially excited to welcome you, Tyler. Thank you for joining me.
Of course. I appreciate you guys having me. I think it would be a great time to go over just kind of who ORCAM is and how it can kind of bring people's independence back. So I appreciate the time and thank you, Lori.
Thank you. So ORCAM is a device. It's a wearable device designed to help people with low vision or even blindness be able to read, recognize, and navigate independently without relying on someone else. What makes ORCAM stand out is that it doesn't replace human connection, but it does restore a person's autonomy. Tyler, welcome to Rock of Ages Whole Health Living. I'm really glad you're here to talk a little bit about this with us.
So for those who may not know who ORCAM is right off of the bat, we were originally designed over in Israel. So our headquarters is based out of Israel. It's where we do a lot of our manufacturing.
Uh-huh.
Originally came from the US in about 2016 with a device called the ORCAM My Eye. It was revolutionary when it first came out, still is to this day, but it focuses on text to speech was the main thing. So things like books, menus, mail, it could be aisle signs in a grocery store, cooking instructions on a package, all of that stuff that sometimes people may have relied on others for, whether it was caregivers, family members, individuals like that, have now been able to do themselves, regaining a lot of that independence. And since then, we've added to our devices. We can now do cash identification. So ones, five, tens, 20s, 50s, hundreds, all of that stuff the device will instantly recognize and let them know. I've spoken to several people where, unfortunately, I've heard stories of where they may hand a cashier a certain amount, the cashier hands them back the wrong amount, whether incidentally or on purpose, and it's never caught. And so having that additional independence and comfort when trying to do things on your
Uh-huh.
own is a big help. Additionally, we can read barcode. So 2 to 2.5 million barcodes are already on the device, which is an impressive amount considering the device is only the size of my thumb. So really, it weighs about like an old school thumb drive for those that may still be familiar with them. I know that they've kind of been a little updated recently, but it's still a good example. And another big thing that really popularizes our device is going to be the facial recognition aspect to it.
Um,
To my knowledge, we are still the only device out there that has that component. And someone can program 100 different faces into the device. I mean, I have someone who uses it for when they go to church. They have the pastor that's programmed in the device. So as soon as the pastor comes on front of stage and addresses everyone,
uh-huh.
it sets his name. So he knows when to stand or when to sit or all of that stuff without having to be told or acknowledged to do so.
Nice.
And all these core components, I know we're touched up on a little bit. No internet, no mobile app,
Yeah, I
nothing.
noticed that. I think that makes a really big difference.
Yeah, I know. Because again, the whole point of OrCam was to bring the independence back to the everyday person, and for that to happen, we wanted to make sure the device is extremely reliable as possible.
Uh-huh.
So even if I mean, if someone we want to make sure the device is eligible to be used there. I mean, we're in the IRS buildings, the Pentagon, things like that, because we don't connect any server. Nothing is getting saved. Everything that you do is protected.
Mhm.
And that's a big component. Plus, even in, I guess it's 2026 now, I still go into a certain Walmart in my area and I lose all service.
Mhm. Yeah.
And if I was using something that was strictly connected to Wi-Fi or cellular data, I wouldn't know what to do. But that's not the case with our device.
Yeah, you don't want it to abandon you when you need it the most.
Correct. You mean you hear it all the time. Availability and reliability is a big
Mhm.
is the most important thing for a lot of that for a lot of aspects.
You know, what really stands out the most to me, I think, is that it's all about the person being able to do things for themselves, not in a situation where it's being done for them, and that's everything. I mean, that's what we all want for ourselves, is that autonomy.
So I can say that I've seen it a lot of the times where someone does solely rely on like a family member, whether it's a wife
Mhm.
or a child or, in-home nurses or caregivers, things like that. And I don't want to say that the family member is never unhappy to do so.
Mhm.
But sometimes a family member has a vacation or a trip that has to be planned where they're just not able to be that caregiver for some period of time.
Mhm.
And this device has really helped alleviate some of that stress and pressure and concern. Because again, I mean, just with a tap of the side of a tap of a button, if I put it on real quick,
Sure. Yeah, let's see.
I mean, I have, okay, all right, going. Clinical glitch, 2 seconds.
I talk a lot about whole health, and, as it's related to ORCAM, it's really looking at the whole person, right? Their physical ability, but it also really taps into their emotional well-being because, you talked about relying on another person, but I think when you do that, when you rely on another person in that way, what happens is that you start to shrink, like your sense of self, your identity starts to kind of diminish, right? And in Rock of Ages, we talk about aging loudly, right? Turning up the volume on aging, because so often what happens with these disabilities is that it makes the person retreat into themselves, creates this whole sense of isolation, and it's not the healthiest thing, and it's not the happiest thing, right? So when I see something like ORCAM, it's about the bigger picture, right? It's not just what it can do practically, but it's about what it brings to that person, how it changes their life, right? Their dignity and their sense of self. Do you find that?
Yeah, so a big thing that I can just say is things like hobbies, things that people really became attached to,
Yeah.
they're able to get back into. One of like I've seen someone who their friend is an author.
Uh-huh.
They've wrote several books.
Uh-huh.
And he would those books at some point just never turned audio. And he
Uh-huh.
was always able to read the stories that his friend wrote until at some point his vision just got
Yeah.
bad enough where he wasn't able to do so anymore. And it was heartbreaking to him.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
My first training I did with the gentleman was with one of his friend's books that was recently released.
Uh-huh.
And it just brought tears to him to be able to listen and to read his story back. Additionally, it can say things like when you do I've had someone do crafting before.
Uh-huh.
Sewing needle like crocheting instructions. Things like that people were able to do.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
you know, reading the mail and things like that are all great and dandy and
Sure.
can bring that independence back. But like you said, there's a
Sure.
mental side to this. I mean, I know I have several hobbies that if I were no longer able to do,
Uh-huh.
would be emotionally damaging.
Well, you said a lot when you said that, right? Because that's the whole health piece of it. It's not just about the eyesight. It's about the person's kind of inner sense of self.
And I think you mentioned, I mean, you already talked on it. I mean, it's not emotionally, people have to be in a good place of mind. And when it comes to assistive technology and trying to learn new things,
Mhm.
it it is a big emotional aspect to it. And I think
Okay.
that's a big thing for not just OrCam, but everywhere.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's talk honestly about something that maybe gets overlooked a lot, but a lot of people do resist the assistive technology, not because it doesn't work, but because, I mean, one thing is I think you have to be patient with it. Do you find that?
Um, so yes, I always compare it to back when I was in high school.
Mhm.
That when it comes to like I don't know whose bright idea was it to have me try to learn like statistics at 8 in the morning on a Monday. I think things didn't always stick after I left that class. And I'll say this, I mean, after my class, I always thought I was like a genius. I was going to go to Harvard on a scholarship. And then 3 hours later, when I was rushing to try to do whatever homework I can during lunch,
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was looking at anymore. But throughout the days or throughout the classes, you learn more of it. You remember more of it. You gain more confidence
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
what you're doing, whether that's, a class, a device, a skill, things like that. So it does take some patience to it. I will say that because the device works independently from any kind of app or Wi-Fi or anything like
Yeah.
that, it does make it a little bit easier to pick up than a couple other things out there.
Uh-huh.
And realistically, on the OrCam My Eye, about two and a half of the features are automatic. So reading is just going to be a tap or a point to
Okay.
what you want to read.
The point too, huh?
Yep.
So how does that work?
Yes. So there's two main ways for our device to operate and read. The first one is going to be by tapping. So if
Mhm.
someone is able to aim their nose at what they're trying to read, if they tap the device one time,
Mhm.
it'll take a broad picture. So it would read everything it sees from the top left all the way down.
No way. That's so cool.
And so, I mean, if I turn it on real quick and if I take a picture, so one tap, and then to stop, I just tap one time. And if someone wanted to read a specific sections, like menus, for example, is a good part of this
Okay.
because menus come up a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so think like if I tapped it while reading a menu, it's going to read everything appetizers, drinks,
Uh-huh.
all of that stuff, right? Which many people may not necessarily want to hear. So if they can see where the headlines are,
Mhm.
they can take their finger, make a number one, and point to that headline.
Mhm.
And when they point to that headline, it tells the device to start reading from there.
Wow.
So if I point to a headline and it says steaks, but I don't want a steak, I can do five fingers out like a stop sign.
Uh-huh.
It'll stop reading. I can point to the next section. Burgers. Okay, cool. Let me listen to those. So the biggest challenge is just going to be the head positioning. But I
Mhm.
will say it all comes back to what we spoke about earlier, which is going to be that practice and just that repetition and repetition. Even people who may be totally blind, right? And then they may not know where their nose is directly positioned at.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've had a lot of people learn by just physically tapping and pulling about a foot or two back.
Okay.
Straight. And then eventually, if they do that enough over the next week or two or three, muscle memory just kicks in.
Okay.
It's just like a basketball player, right? If you put them on a free throw line, they can probably make it with their eyes closed or get
Uh-huh.
relatively close.
Interesting.
Unless you're like Shaquille O'Neal, then I don't think anything helps anyways. But yeah, I mean, it's the muscle memory and the repetition that comes through with it. I mean, cash I already mentioned was automatic. You just hold it up, device says what it is. Barcodes work the same way, and then facial
Okay.
recognition works the same way as well after you program it in there. So
Right. Right.
really, about out of the main four features of the device, two and a half of them are purely automatic, and you don't need to do anything with. You just hold
Okay.
it up.
Okay.
So the device itself, I don't want to say it's the most complex things out there. There are more difficult things, but I will say the head positioning is one that people have to get used to.
Mhm, mhm.
And when it comes to the look, because I know this is another thing that people may be a little bit cautious about, because they
Yeah.
don't necessarily want to draw attention to themselves,
Mhm, mhm.
or they don't want to be defined as that disability.
Mhm, mhm.
The device, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but the size of a thumb drive. So
Yeah, and
even
it
on
looks
my
great. I
glass.
mean, it just looks seamless. It looks like, we're all wearing technology now, right? People
Mhm.
have earbuds and meta glasses and
Yep.
all kinds of things. So it's not distracting, or it doesn't look like a disability, I guess is my point.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's what a lot of people do like about us. Additionally, is sometimes the frames that people wear
Mhm.
bring out some confidence with them as well.
Mhm.
And Orcam, again, this is the actual device.
Right.
The glasses are just a prop.
Right. Right.
So, for example, like the glasses that you have on,
Mhm.
we would be able to put the device on there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if someone is really either attached to to their frames, or they really like their bright pink and bold design frames,
Right. Right.
they can continue to use those with no issues.
Yeah, I think that, I think that that has a lot to do with it because it keeps a lot of people away from hearing aids. I mean, hearing aids have changed so much over time now, but when they were big and bulky, it just kept a lot of people away from using it. So I'm interested to know your perspective on what's next, what's around the corner with this great technology.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question because Orcam, we've kind of mastered the offline component of things.
Mm-hmm.
And what's coming next for Orcam is more of a AI driven side through like a mobile app connection for people who are a bit more tech savvy
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or want to push themselves to learn just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. Like we have a device called the Read 5 that
Okay.
came out a couple of months, about 6 or 7 months ago.
Okay.
It does have more of an AI component to it, and it's been really popular for people who are more so like in school or in a workplace environment
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it gives them the ability to analyze text. So think like a utility bill, right? Utility bills have a lot going on,
Right, right. The way they're
whether it's
laid out.
art, F's, correct.
Yes.
We are now able to take a picture of that through that device
Mhm.
and just ask the device, how much do I owe? And it'll scan that image and tell you the amount due is $241.
I'm
Okay,
laughing
cool.
because that's really what we wanna know, right?
Yeah. There's only two things we really care about on a utility bill. It's how much is due, when is it due, and how do I pay?
Yeah, yeah.
And you can ask those three questions, get your answer in a matter of like 30 seconds.
That's really interactive. That really brings it to a different level.
Yep, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it still comes with the offline features too, which is nice. So
Uh-huh.
it doesn't get rid of the core component of who OrCamp is.
Mhm.
It just adds that addition.
Right.
And so I think realistically, we've also come up with something that's like, it's a little bit more, again, tech savvy. Someone has to be able to use a computer for this
Right,
aspect to it.
right.
But we have something that's called a smart magnifier.
Uh-huh.
And I want you to think like CCTVs, like the Merlins, things like that, bulky 20, 30 pound machines that people can zoom in and magnify with.
Oh, right, right, right.
We can, if someone is able to connect their device to a computer,
Mhm.
we can do the same thing.
How
So
cool. Wow.
it's essentially like a two-in-one component because, I mean, I will say CCTVs are not the cheapest things out there, and sometimes it only works for someone for about 2 or 3 years before their vision gets progressingly
I
worse enough
gotcha.
to where that may not function anymore,
Mhm, mhm,
and they need a
mhm.
different tool. So, coming out with that has saved, some people down the road because then they can transition more to the OCR device that we already offer on it.
Really interesting. Tyler, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the work that you're doing with ORCAM. It's making a big difference in people's lives. To our listeners, if vision loss or the fear of losing your independence is part of your story or someone you love, I encourage you to explore what tools ORCAM has and how they could help you make you more independent so that you're able to live your life on your terms. So until next time, this is Rock of Ages Whole Health Living, where we don't age quietly. Thank you.